Hello, my name is Sifu Mark, and this is a little bit of an introduction from the APLEA KRAV MAGA program to tell you what APLEA is. Everybody's been asking me, what does the key mean? What does that logo mean? What does APLEA mean? Are you guys a cop organization? Are you a military organization? What is it? So I'm going to backpedal a little bit. I'm going to start with KRAV MAGA, then we're going to go backwards to APLEA and explain that whole process. All right? KRAV MAGA. What is KRAV MAGA? KRAV MAGA is a military combative system that developed in Israel. All right? About 60 years ago, it became part of their military units and basically has been taught throughout the world now. Okay? What was once for just the military and law enforcement communities is now part of civilian martial arts schools, and that is what we as APLEA KRAV MAGA are bringing to you, is the ability to offer these military combatives in your school. All right? One thing, so now let me talk to you about APLEA. 2001, I was in the Air Force, and my brother Jonathan was in the Army, and 9/11 happened. For those of you who are old enough to remember that, it was a game changer for the United States. You know, up till then, I remember conversations with my Sifu, my Kung Fu teacher, and other people who were in the military, other vets, and the conversation would go something like this. Yeah, you know what, Pearl Harbor, this and that, but we're the United States, we got the best military, we got the best this, and that, and nobody's ever going to attack us on our soil. All right? Boom, 9/11 happens, and all of a sudden, lives are destroyed. And I live in New York State, and my brother is from New York State, and though he was in Georgia at the time with the Army, all of a sudden, anybody who is a part of the military, or who has family in New York, or in, you know, and any, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this was not a military target, we just got hit. Okay? Up to this point, the concept and philosophy of the military and law enforcement units in America were different than that of Israel. Okay? Israel's philosophy had always been that they are, I mean, if you want to talk about a reserve military, everyone who is in Israel as a citizen, when they're 18 years old, has to go and be part of the military for a couple of years, 3 years, all right? And in the United States, we don't have that. In the United States, people join the military because they want to, because they have a family legacy in the military, because they need money for college or direction for their lives, or they're mandated to go there to not be in jail. So there's reasons why Americans join the military, right? But in Israel, you don't have a choice, all right? So they understand, and once you are through their military, you are allowed to carry a firearm on the street, because now you're trained as a military, and you're basically part of the entire community of Israel, which is all part of the reserve unit in a time of war. Anyone can, you know, any citizen can become activated back to their unit. So again, and this might be a little oversimplification, and I'm not an expert on military, Israeli military systems, but I just wanted to tell you, explain that. So 9/11 happened in the United States, and our philosophy as Americans was, you know, forget citizens arrest, forget, you know what, if something bad happens, you call the professionals, you call the police, you call 911, you call the military, whatever, you know, whatever. Obviously you don't call the military necessarily, but if something happens really bad, the National Guard will come in and protect us. You know, so all these things, you know, like with Katrina, Hurricane Katrina in the United States, we were angry that the military didn't come in and do a better job, all right, for example. Anyways, 9/11 happens, and all of a sudden, philosophy begins to change. President comes on national airways and begins to say, everybody is part of our response force. Everybody can help prevent terrorism. Everybody, all of a sudden, they develop something called, I forgot what it's even called, CERT, I think it's called, Citizen Emergency Response Team or something like that. And basically, as a public citizen, you could learn how to be an emergency responder. All right? The surge in people that ran to join the military and the National Guard and first responder units, like, boom, spiked. Because why? Because the worst thing to experience in that moment of 9/11 was that you couldn't do anything to help. Thousands of volunteers rushed to the site to help, and were turned away. Most of them were turned away because even though they were experts at, you know, whatever it was they did, there was not a lot of organization, or they weren't needed. They weren't they didn't have that mindset prior to 9/11 about we're all going to respond. There wasn't a game plan for it. Now there is, but there wasn't at that time. So anyways, my brother and I were in the military, and immediately I was with martial arts already, and immediately it just hit me that, and it hit him that, you know, we got to do something, and we began to come together on a program that later became called New York Capital Recovery and Protection, which included jobs such as bail enforcement, private investigation, security, and a lot of it was very conceptual because, believe it or not, my brother and I were very young at the time, and we didn't have the experience that we do have now. You know, I have since been in security forces with the Air Force, but at the time I wasn't in a security forces role. But we had the vision at that point, and we realized that after incorporating New York Capital Recovery and Protection, we're like, this is bigger than New York. This is an American thing. You know, this is the United States. And so we decided to come up with the name American Private Law Enforcement Association. And the slogan or our mission statement was equipping leaders to defend freedom. And obviously one of the big ways we do that is through teaching of the martial arts, okay? So all of a sudden 9/11 happens and everybody begins to look to Israel to see what are they doing, how they've been responding to terrorism for a long time in their nation, how do we do it? So as a nation, we began to look to Israel as our teacher to what to do, all right? That's where Krav Maga, which was once kind of an obscure, unknown, for the most part, martial art, began to explode onto the scene. Black Belt Magazine began to do full-page, you know, covers of Israeli guys who do martial arts, all right? So, anyways, it took me a few years, but I got involved in the Israeli martial arts program. I was traditionally a Wing Chun guy. And so, basically, what ended up happening is, here we are 15 years later. We have several instructors. In fact, at the time of this recording, I'm waiting. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to pick up one of our instructors, Moshe Katz, who's going to be coming and doing a 2-day seminar in Krav Maga at our school. So, unfortunately, by the time you're seeing this, you missed the opportunity, but there'll be a lot of other opportunities. So, you know, I'm very grateful. I consider myself not the man, okay? Even though I've done martial arts over 20 years, I consider myself a lifetime student. And the whole idea of what APLEA was founded on is that we are a resource to help others, to help other leaders, equipping leaders to defend freedom. So part of the reason I wear this as my traditional gi is because not only am I a veteran, all right? And see, this says veteran right here, this American flag. This right here, I don't know if you can see a little camera, but there's the Twin Towers and the Pentagon, and it says 93. This is a 5/11 patch. It says never forget, all right? And the idea of this is that 93, Flight 93, for those of you who don't know, who are too young to remember, they were the one airplane that was attacked by terrorists where they actually fought back. And it is believed, even to this day, that that airplane was headed towards the White House. And because those passengers fought back, the plane crashed into Pennsylvania, all right? And it did not hit its target, all right? So I believe that in itself is part of the mission statement of what APLEA is, because everybody, as I say this all the time, everybody is the first responder to their own situation. The whole leave it to the professionals philosophy is done in America, all right? Here's the thing though, why do we say leave it to the professionals? One, professionals have training that you don't have. Number two, they have a network of other resources to know how to handle situations that you don't have. For example, when the EMT shows up at your house, he shows up with a loaded ambulance full of equipment, and then they bring you to the hospital where there's more resources to be able to help you out, okay? Same thing, you know, and so for the most part, we believe that private law enforcement is not just, there's a couple of different translations of what private law enforcement is, okay? Law enforcement, obviously, let's just start with there. It's just police officers, okay? Overseas, law enforcement, people who enforce the law overseas is our military units, right? So that's public law enforcement. If you look in definitions in the books, you know, in dictionaries and stuff, public law enforcement are public citizens. You've heard that term before. Public citizens, people who make it their job to be a professional military guy or professional law enforcement guy. That would be considered public law enforcement, all right? What is private law enforcement? Okay, so for most of the time, it's translated as private sector security, which actually is older than public law enforcement, all right? Our first, you know, obviously we had you know, like the Texas Rangers, and we have, going back, you study the history of bail enforcement, private citizens were responsible for maintaining the law long before it was a public job, all right? that you could get. Now, obviously, I have a high respect. That's one of the things that APLEA, the reason that we wanted that name is because we both, my brother and I, have a high respect for the guys who serve in the military, because we have to, and the guys who serve in law enforcement. It doesn't matter. You might never deploy to Afghanistan or some combat zone, but if you're a cop working the streets, you could get shot at, okay? And you could see way more combat experience than somebody wearing camouflage who might just be an administrative guy, you know, and sit behind a desk in a foreign country. So, again, not picking on the military either. I've been in the military too. So, anyways, so for the most part, private law enforcement has to do with security, bail enforcement, private investigation. These are things that are where private citizens have high levels of training and are able to do things and work in conjunction, jointly with public law enforcement, right? But what we also like to extend that translation to mean in APLEA is private citizens, okay, who receive the same caliber of training that can be able to help it, even though it's not a job, even though there's no paycheck attached to it. What we also want to say is that we believe public law enforcement does this too. There's different types of public law enforcement. There's people that wear the uniform that if the paycheck stopped, so would the work, okay? And again, I have 4 children, I understand. I'm not picking on anybody, all right? If my paycheck stops, I don't go back to work either, all right? But what I'm saying is they're not motivated primarily by the love of what they do as much as they're motivated by, hey, it's a good paycheck, all right? Then there's the other type, the type that you could stop paying them and tell them they're done, they're retired. The guys, I know the guys in the military that have done this, they retire and they come to every single function because guess what, it never was the paycheck that motivated them, or it was a smaller part of the motivation. The bigger intrinsic motivation was because it was the mission. It was their mission. They became their life's mission to be a servant to the people, a protector, to serve and to protect, all right? So I believe as private citizens, we all are called to the same mission too. For example, if you're a father, you're called to serve and protect your family, your wife, your children, okay? We're like little law enforcement agencies. Within our home is your jurisdiction. In law enforcement, we call it a jurisdiction. So that means that like if you're a city cop, your jurisdiction is the city. If you're a state trooper, your jurisdiction is the entire state. As a private citizen, your jurisdiction is your home. Your home is your castle, right? So without getting too long-winded about this, I could talk about this for hours, but the idea is that APLEA provides a bridge where you can access the high-level training that the professionals get as a private citizen, okay? So we believe that in combatives, it's Krav Maga, all right? Another thing that we believe in tactics, okay? The Israelis have great tactical training programs, and so do Americans, all right? We're connected with American special ops communities that basically provide quality trainings for us that we will keep you up to date in our monthly newsletters. So basically, we also believe the bigger the organization gets, the more resources we have. You might be an affiliate school and you're an instructor, you have 40 years of experience, okay? So therefore, we don't have to look outside our agency because now we're a very networked and organized agency that have SOPs or standard operating procedures for crisis, okay? What is a martial arts class, a self-defense class? They're establishing SOPs for self-defense. All right, somebody grabs you by the throat, what do? I do this, then I do this, then I do this. Somebody comes up to you and inappropriately touches you, what do? We kick them in the groin, we poke them in the eyes, we do bing, 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 bing. The problem we believe is that America is a culture. My brother and I, Jonathan, and I believe when we were forming this company is that America as a culture for too long has kind of sat back on the couch, right? Unless you're in a public servant role, a lot of us sit back on the couch, and I'm including myself in this, and let the professionals do the job. You know what? It's like when you're in a hotel. Do you make your bed? No. Most of us don't because there's somebody else that's getting paid to do that job. So the mindset has slipped because America is so well defended by such a great military and such a great law enforcement community. We've let our guard get weak. We've become soft targets, and now we're not able to defend our wives, ourselves, our children, all right? Women aren't able to defend themselves because they've been too reliant on the police officer at the corner or whatever, their husband or whoever it is, you know, a boyfriend. So I'm saying this is for all of us. All right, children obviously should be able to, when you're a child, you should be able for the most part to trust that your parents are going to be there to take care of you and protect you. However, every child goes to school. And so what happens? You are at some point away from the people that are protecting you, and at some point you're in a situation where you become the first responder to your own crime scene. All right, so based on that concept, hope that it makes a little bit of understanding of what APLEA is. It's not just for cops and military, okay? So let me tell you a little bit about this logo. You probably can't see it very well here, but you know, we'll have it at the beginning and the end. It's kind of morphed a little bit more. The new APLEA KRAV logo has a picture of my brother and myself, and we are standing in New York City. Very early on in 2003, we were looking for private investigators that would work with us and give us jobs, and we got trained in bail enforcement through that. That was that actual, so that's a picture of that actual event, of kind of the beginnings and the formation of this company, all right? My brother, by the way, now is a wounded vet, and he is, you know, he's no longer in the military, but he's still, you know, I spoke to another vet the other day, and he was like, "What branch are you?" And I told him, "Well, you know, I'm prior military." He goes, "Prior military?" He goes, "Once you're in the military, you're always in." So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that mindset. You know, when the paycheck stops, or when the paycheck never was there to begin with, you could still be a warrior without getting paid, being a paid warrior or a paid defender, okay? So anyways, what this logo is, there's a bunch of different translations, okay? But basically the main translation, how I like to apply it to APLEA, is you have these two arrows, one's going up and one's going down, all right? They relate on a couple different levels, but one, the big one, in public and private law enforcement working together, okay? This is the idea. They're working kind of jointly, and they're filling in the gaps in security, and this basically, these circles that are kind of unending circles are like, they're like spears, right? They're going around and around and around. This wrapping, this is the protection, okay? The layers of protection, or we call it in security force, we call it layers in defense, right? So that we're part of it as public citizens. All right, and these blue orbs or balls would represent the people who can't protect themselves. All right, so defending the defenseless. That's kind of the mission of what APLEA is. All right, hope that made things a little bit clearer. Any other questions you have, feel free to give me a call, send me an email, type me a letter, whatever you'd like to do. I'd always love to talk about this stuff. And thanks for being a part of the team.